If you were a senator, Steve, and I gave you $10,000 cash, one or both of us is probably going to go to jail. But if I'm a corporate executive and you're a senator and I give you IPO shares in stock, and over the course of one day, that stock nets you $100,000, that's completely legal.
And former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her husband had participated in at least 8 IPOs. One of those came in 2008 from Visa, just as a troublesome piece of legislation that would have hurt credit card companies began making its way through the House. Undisturbed by a potential conflict of interest, the Pelosi's purchased 5,000 shares of Visa at the initial price of $44. 2 days later, it was trading at $64. The credit card legislation never made it to the floor of the House. Congresswoman Pelosi also declined our request for an interview, but agreed to call on us if we attended her news conference.
Madam Leader, I wanted to ask you why you and your husband, back in March of 2008, accepted and participated in a very large IPO deal from Visa at a time there was major legislation affecting their credit card companies making its way through the House. And did you consider that to be a conflict of interest?
I don't know what your point is of your question. Is there some point that you want to make with that?
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think it's all right for a speaker to accept a very preferential and favorable stock deal?
Well, we did.
And you participated in the IPO.
Well, I have many
and at the time you were
investments, but
Speaker of the House. You don't think it was a conflict of interest or had the appearance of a conflict of interest?
No, it only has the appearance if you decide that you're going to have elaborate on a false premise. But it's not true, and that's that.
I don't understand what part's not true.
Yes, sir. That I would act upon an investment. Yes, sir.
Congresswoman Pelosi pointed out that the tough credit card legislation eventually passed, but it was 2 years later and was initiated in the Senate.
I will hold my record in terms of fighting the credit card companies as a Speaker of the House or as a member of Congress up against anyone's.
Corporate executives, members of the executive branch, and all federal judges are subject to strict conflict of interest rules, but not the people who write the laws.
All right, that's enough. Well, there are laws now, there are rules now that limit this sort of thing, but I wanted to remind you about the ringleader and these members of Congress. I wanted to remind you that they're flesh and blood and they're very imperfect people. Wasn't that long ago, remember? The Me Too movement, when we found out members of Congress had cut deals with taxpayer dollars to silence individuals who accused them of sexual harassment? Oh, yeah. So we hold up this House of Representatives and the Democrats who control it like they're noble, like they're really judges, like they're great jurors, when in fact they're politicians. And what they're doing is very, very problematic. And they keep attacking the President of the United States. You know, this president, if we look at the subpoenas that have been issued, his taxes have been subpoenaed, his accounting firm's records have been subpoenaed, his accountant has been subpoenaed, his bank records have been subpoenaed. What hasn't been subpoenaed? All their financial records have been subpoenaed. Those of his children have been subpoenaed. We've never seen anything like this in American history. The constant attempt to tear down this president. And then I see some people saying, well, Congress has an oversight responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, Congress has to have a legitimate oversight responsibility that applies to its Article I duties, legislation. Its oversight responsibility is to try and destroy a presidency and burden a presidency and undermine a presidency. And this has been going on since day one with the Democrats in the House and the Democrats in the media. We'll be right back.